Rightio guys, so jump starting a flat battery is a really handy skill that anyone needs to know if you have your own vehicle or driver's license. Now, as a young teenager, my first car was a very old one and it used to get a flat battery often. So the way that I'm teaching you how to jump start a flat battery comes from a lot of years of experience of actually having to do it. So behind me, I have a 1952 Fergie and my brand new hybrid Hilux. The Fergie does genuinely have a flat battery. It's very old and it drains, the tractor drains the energy out of the battery quite frequently. Now the reason that this happens in modern vehicles is typically because you've left the lights on or because you've left the radio running. When the engine is going in a vehicle, it is the engine that is powering everything in the vehicle that needs power. But when the engine is off, it is the battery that continues to power anything that you leave on. So if you do come across a flat battery and you want to come in and be a hero, the first thing you need to have is a set of jumper leads. Now these jumper leads are pretty big. I have a big truck and often on farm I've got to jump start tractors. You can go to any local car store and grab a set of jumper leads that are much smaller than this if you're just driving around in a car. But the premise is the same. A good set of jumper leads will set you back maybe a couple of $100 and they are worth their weight in gold. Then before you set up, you want to take note of which side of the engine bay your battery is on. In this case, my battery is on the passenger side and it's pretty simple with the Fergie, it's right in the middle. You just want to make sure that the batteries are close enough so your leads can reach each. Okay, so before we connect the leads, because the Fergie is an older model, occasionally, very occasionally, if you connect the two batteries without the engine running on the one that's not flat, sometimes the flat battery can take all the energy from the vehicle that does have power in it. So to minimize the risk of that happening, we're going to start the engine up on the Hilux first, then I'm going to show you how to connect the leads. Okay, so the way that electricity likes to flow is it needs a complete closed loop in order to move the electricity through. So the red lead is the positive lead. I like to think red, love light, love hearts is the way you remember the colour. Black is the negative, like black scary movies. Negative is kind of the way you can remember that. You're going to connect the positive and then the positive, and that is where the electricity flows. But the electricity won't flow until you actually connect the negative to complete the circuit. So what we're going to do is open up the jaws just nice and wide, and you're going to place them over the bolts of the positive terminal so there's a really good grip and you're not going to risk having them slip. Come across to the flat battery. Identify where the positive terminal is on the flat battery. Same thing, good strong connection, so they're not going to wiggle off. Now that we've got both of the positive leads connected, we're then going to connect the negative on this and then the negative on that one. What you really don't want to do is connect the positive and the negative, because then you've completed the circuit and you run the risk of getting sparks and shorting things out if you then try and connect the positive and the negative on the flat. So just as I've explained, positive, positive, then we can complete the circuit. So now the electricity is able to flow, but it's still not flowing into this battery until we attach the final negative terminal. Okay, so I know that this Fergie is really flat, so I'm just going to give it a couple of seconds before I attempt to start it. Now if you go to start the engine of the flat vehicle and it's still not going, just give it a bit more time. You can even put your foot on the accelerator to up the revs, which helps charge it up. If the engine does start, at that point leave the engine running, do not turn it off, because the engine running is what charges the battery and it's going to need some time to fully charge. With the engine running, you can remove the leads in the opposite way that we put them on: negative, negative, positive, positive, and then best practice is to take the flat battery vehicle for a drive. But let's just see if we can get this thing started first. Fingers crossed. This is pretty unique, you need the gear stick to get it going. Okay, so now we have both engines running, which is great. And so from here, all I need to do is take the old Frogie for a drive.